It's one of the most famous places on the planet, and one of the most secret. Millions know of its existence, but few know its real purpose. Startled observers tell strange tales of bizarre lights shooting across the night sky. Frightening noises erupting from beyond the sound barrier. And even encounters with life forms from beyond the Earth's grasp. From deep within its borders, the government denies this place even exists. But now, a determined team of expert investigators is hell-bent on finding out the truth. What are they hiding? Who are they protecting? And how far are they willing to go to conceal the secrets of Area 51?
The thing that makes it interesting is they deny that it's there.
Area 51 is unlike any other U.S. military base. Located deep in the Nevada desert, this top-secret facility is surrounded by a wall of rugged, unforgiving mountains, protected by an impenetrable ring of security that keeps the base beyond the reach of intruders, and, critics charge, all government oversight. Reports of strange advanced aircraft suggest they may be testing anti-gravity propulsion, a revolutionary aviation system once reserved for science fiction. Chuck Clark may be the world's foremost authority on Area 51. As a professional astronomer and aviation hobbyist, he's always had a fascination with the base, which the U.S. military claims is simply an aircraft test site. In the remote Nevada desert, the tiny town of Rachel is the closest most people get to the high-security base called Area 51. It trades on wild claims of UFOs, but many think the government encourages alien theorists to propagate myths about Area 51 in order to discredit legitimate watchdogs. Chuck Clark makes this his home base for watching and documenting any and all activity that comes from the base. Today, he's meeting with the team of experts he's assembled to spend 24 hours using any legal means for the most intensive in-the-field investigation ever launched into the true nature of this legendary base. Their mission, to launch a 24-hour, round-the-clock, up-close investigation of Area 51 and discover what the government is hiding inside the walls of the world's most top-secret military base.
This is Area 51, guys. This is a satellite image of the base. Sort of gives us an overall view of what's out there.
Each man brings with him a unique base of knowledge and skills. Guy Norris is an award-winning military aviation reporter. He's been studying top-secret airplanes and air bases his whole career.
I think the interesting thing is from an FAA chart, as you can see, there's absolutely no indication whatsoever of any runways at all on the map within that restricted area. So obviously on the map itself, as far as the rest of the world is concerned, there is no runway here, although quite obviously the reality is very different.
Military communications specialist Bob Grove has been studying the base's radio system.
There are several hundred frequencies active out here. I brought a scanner out, going to do some listening and see if these are really as active as they seem to be.
Private Detective Mike Johnson has already been on the case.
The security measures are far more than just the remoteness and it's being so desolate and out in the middle of nowhere.
He knows that at any high-security military base, guards are well armed, and at Area 51, they are ready to use deadly force if anyone breaches the perimeter. To really observe the working of the base, they must split into two teams.
All right.
Team 1, electronic surveillance. Mike and Bob will circle the base's perimeter, checking out the elaborate security system up close. They'll try to watch the people who will be watching them, and using radio scanners, they will go beyond the barbed wire and guardhouses to eavesdrop on Area 51. Team number 2, visual surveillance. Chuck will lead Guy to the top of Tikaboo Mountain. It's the only vantage point of the base that hasn't been taken over by the military. Chuck will aim his astronomical telescope not at the stars, but at Area 51. For Chuck, this trip is the most important of dozens he's made to photograph Area 51 and its operations. Ten years ago, Chuck retired to tiny Rachel, Nevada, so he could get a closer look at the military's latest airplanes. But the more Chuck peered beyond the walls of Area 51, the more he saw that the base was operating according to its own rules, under separate command, out of view, and above the law. Chuck discovered just how far Area 51 security reaches. One day, Chuck was hiking in the desert when he stumbled on what he thought was debris from a crashed airplane.
I bent over to, pick it up, pull it out of the sand to see what it was, and I saw the antenna sticking out of the ground. So I cleaned it off. It was a transmitter that had a lead going off to a smaller plastic box. It was a sensor.
Chuck has uncovered a motion detector, not along Area 51's secure buffer zone, but miles away from the perimeter of the secret base and on public land. To Chuck, the sensors are the latest in a series of covert moves designed to expand Area 51's ability to carefully monitor the movements of innocent civilians.
It's a little overkill, in my opinion. They have about a 25-mile buffer zone out here, and it's all terrain like this. It gets rougher as you go. Why they have to put stuff outside the line, and really it escapes me. I found them over in the next valley, as far as 8 miles outside the line and a mile from Highway 375.
Determined to expose the military scheme, Chuck enlists the help of award-winning investigative journalist George Knapp.
It took us about half an hour to find the first sensor. 5 minutes after that, we found the second one.
So there's your transmitter right there. And we'll come around here. And right here will be the time delay unit. And you'll see it's clearly marked U.S. government property.
In all, the two men discover over a dozen sensors, all set up to transmit information back to Area 51.
Retired astronomer and desert rat Chuck Clark keeps an eye on the top secret base known as Area 51.
When George Knapp's story hits the air, Chuck is on the move. Chuck has discovered a way to breach the barbed wire and penetrate the ring of security to get inside Area 51 without getting arrested. But it means he has to travel 500 miles to Denver, Colorado. Inside this nondescript building is advanced technology originally developed by the military that runs Area 51. Now Chuck can turn the tables and get an insider's view of the secret base. Space Imaging is a company that owns and operates ICONUS, the world's first commercial high-resolution satellite. ICONUS circles the Earth every 98 minutes, beaming back aerial images so precise it can even pick out the building that funds Area 51, the U.S. Capitol.
So Chuck, what's your interest in Area 51?
I moved out there about 10 years ago, and whenever I wasn't photographing the stars in the heavens, I pointed my big lenses at the base.
Ooh, I'm sure they love that.
Oh, they loved it.
Using the ICONUS aerial photos, the team at Space Imaging is able to assemble an accurate 3D model of Area 51. The U.S. government may not like Chuck, but they can't stop Space Imaging from giving him his first real peek inside the ultra-secret base.
Oh, boy.
This is Area 51, built with our ICONUS imagery, and then we're able to fly through with this software.
That's fantastic. I have photographs that I've taken showing the fronts of these, but I've never seen this building.
And I did notice some sand on the runway, so I wasn't sure if there hadn't been something that had landed there recently, or maybe the aircraft began landing right about here.
Maybe that dust is just painted on for a deception, too.
Mm-hmm.
These are, some nefarious people that are running this place, and they might think of something like that.
Yeah. Is this public information?
I'm sort of, little brother watching big brother. You watch mundane things long enough and you figure stuff out.
the security as tight as all the rumors I've heard and what I've seen on TV?
Well, it's probably tighter. The security has sensors that are set up miles outside the perimeter, and so they're out there watching you long before you get anywhere near the line.
Whoa. I'm not going to disappear after this show.
Probably, but...
In Denver, Chuck's mission is accomplished. He quickly hits the road again, determined to share his findings with the rest of his team. But while Chuck was getting his glimpse inside Area 51, the federal government was already striking back, as he's about to learn the hard way.
I got a call from a friend of mine with the FBI who said, "What the hell are you doing up at Area 51? Something heavy was going to come down real soon. Something bad for Chuck."
In the remote Nevada desert, Area 51 is a secret military test site. It sits protected from prying eyes by a 25-mile buffer zone, mountains, and an inhospitable terrain. Two teams of investigators are on a stakeout, documenting everything they see and hear. If all goes as planned and base security doesn't interfere, they'll reconnoiter 24 hours later. Team leader Chuck Clark and military aviation expert Guy Norris will set up camp on a mountaintop, armed with a telescope and camera.
We seem to be completely in the middle of nowhere, so...
We're 22 miles into the backcountry here.
This is the easy part. They still face a 2-hour climb up the sheer face of Tikaboo Peak.
Wow, so that's how high then?
That's around just a few feet below 8,000. We're roughly at 7,000 right here.
So we're really on our own out here, aren't we?
Yeah, you're on your own. You could be in a whole bunch of trouble up here if you broke a leg or something.
Chuck Clark knows what trouble is. Since George Knapp's broadcast of Chuck's discovery that Area 51 security was hiding motion detectors outside its legal perimeter, the Men in Black decided to teach Chuck a lesson. While Chuck was immersed in space imaging's model of Area 51, the feds were swooping down on his desert home.
FBI agents have confirmed that a search warrant was served last night on the home of a self-described military watchdog in the tiny town of Rachel, near the mysterious Area 51 military base. It's an exclusive story you will only see here.
We've learned this action was initiated by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. The search warrant remains sealed, and the FBI won't say what was seized from the home of Rachel resident Chuck Clark.
Well, I was just driving over to Dave's house, and I noticed that there was a whole bunch of guys standing around over at Chuck's.
Bill Whiffen lives down the road from Chuck Clark and knew he was out of town. At first, he thought Chuck was being robbed, so he grabbed his camera and started snapping. The men and women you see are members of the Joint Terrorism Task Force.
There was about 10 cars and a lot more than 10 people there. I recognized the badges and I saw the FBI on the jacket. I got pictures of them making boxes, going in and out. And I got one of the hard drives coming out.
As Chuck returns to Rachel and his home, he has no idea what has happened.
Let's see. Oh, that's weird.
For Chuck, his work, his privacy, his security are all suddenly gone. He finds the warrant and an invoice of confiscated items waiting on the dining room table.
It's district court search warrant, and they've got their card. And I guess that's an inventory. Let's see here. U.S. District Court search warrant. Ooh, Nevada Joint Terrorism Task Force. That's impressive.
Every inch of Chuck's place has been thoroughly searched.
Basically, they took a whole list of stuff. Scanners, radios. They took 6 floppy disks, 15 CDs, Area 51 photos, film negatives, 2 photo albums. They took the monitor. I don't know why the hell they take a monitor. What information is in a monitor? The phone.
Word spreads quickly. Calls come from friends and neighbors.
Hello? Oh, I understand some feds visited my place while I was gone. No, I haven't been disappeared yet. That'll be tonight. I'm doing things I know they don't want me to do, but I'm not doing anything illegal. You know, I think they resent the fact that we're starting to publicize their sensors on public land.
Now, the message they're trying to send to them was knock it off.
I know what I can legally get away with, and I know what I can't get away with, and I push it right to the edge, but I don't go past that edge. And that's what's got them so irritated, that I'm not intimidated by them. I get right in their face with the camera lens.
Aware that the government is investigating Chuck, his other teammates, security expert Mike Johnson and audio expert Bob Grove, take up their part of the mission. They are just 2 miles from the rear entrance to Area 51, and they're certain that security can see them coming.
There's several ways that they can sense, of course.
I'd imagine they're listening to us right now.
Well, it could be.
They're certainly watching us, but I'd imagine they're listening pretty close. Fence line right up there.
They decide to walk the fence line, keeping their eye on the guardhouse.
Let's see what we've got down here.
There's some type of sensing unit on that fence right there, that white box.
Could be, could be. Take a look and see what that is.
Security is well aware of them.
That's far enough from me.
Yeah, let's check the other side of the road, see if there's anything there.
From 100 yards away, they get their first glimpse of the private security force contracted to guard Area 51. Known to insiders as the Camo Dudes, so called because of their desert camouflage uniforms. Bob and Mike want a closer look, but they know one step over the line would put their mission in jeopardy. This is not the time to test the boundaries.
I don't want to end up in jail.
Yeah.
Mike and Bob make a quick strategic retreat. Up next, Area 51 comes alive.
Unbelievable.
And we go inside Area 51 with Mr. X.
Absolute power is true. Corrupts absolutely.
When we return, 2 crews of renegade researchers battle fatigue and the harsh desert environment as part of a 24-hour vigil to uncover the mystery of a place whose existence is still denied by the government.
I should have been in training for this.
Well,
Back on the mountain, Chuck and Guy make their way up the dangerous path to the summit of Tikaboo Peak, carrying a 50-pound telescope and gear for the cold night ahead.
The first half mile here up to the first ridge is killer. It's steep and loose. And it gets steeper as we get higher.
Their destination, the only available view of Area 51.
Well, here we are up top.
Wow. That is so spectacular, isn't it?
So what do you think? Is it worth the climb?
Yeah, I mean, I'm finding it difficult to describe to you actually what it's like. I think the weird thing is that although we're here on planet Earth, you feel like you're on the edge of another world out there.
Looking out across the desert through the heat haze, there is another world, one the government has tried to hide from prying eyes. It's Area 51.
Yeah, I can see some buildings glinting sort of thing in the sun, and I can make out one of the runways. Unbelievable. I can't believe I'm actually seeing it. It's unbelievable. After all this time, it's incredible.
It's not really a myth.
Yeah, it really exists.
Chuck and Guy hurry to make camp on the bare mountaintop, all too aware that if they can see the base from here, the base can see them. They're 26 miles away and must rely on Chuck's telescope and telephoto camera to let them spy on and document any activity at Area 51.
With the eyepiece in place, it will give us about a 50-power look.
Oh, yeah.
Both men know Area 51 exists to test the ultra-secret new technology right out of science fiction.
In terms of what could be going on there, There's been a growing speculation that anti-gravity propulsion, this sort of so-called holy grail of aerospace, could be on the verge of becoming reality.
There are quite a few stories about things that seem to be anti-gravity, and I've seen a few things over the years also.
Like what?
Objects that rise slowly and sort of hang motionless for minutes at a time, and then suddenly dart halfway across the sky in a second or two and stop instantly, or make a high-speed V-turn.
That's incredible, isn't it?
You never know what you're going to see. They're testing all sorts of things here.
On the desert floor, disguised as campers, Bob Grove and Mike Johnson are setting up to monitor anything coming or going inside Area 51. They won't be able to see directly into Area 51, but Bob will be able to monitor any transmissions.
If there is a presence of phenomena of any type, it can be measured in a physical sense, and there are a variety of test instruments that can do that. For example, this little device, turn it on here. You hear that little chirping sound. This indicates that we have transmitters on, and you and I happen to know that we have because each of us is wearing one. It's our little wireless microphones.
Right.
With monitors set, Bob and Mike settle in for a long night of listening. At the top of Tikaboo Peak, team leader Chuck Clark and aviation reporter Guy Norris move the telescope into final position. When something happens, if something happens, they'll only have seconds to react.
It's a moonless night tonight, right? So that's better for the chances, the potential chances of something happening.
It increases the potential chances. They don't want a chance silhouetting against the moon, so the less moon there is in a night, the more likely they are to test.
It's almost 2 a.m. Electronics specialist Bob Grove and security expert Mike Johnson are encamped just outside the base's border.
Here, and if the signal comes on, it will make us...
Bob's high-tech radio equipment will monitor any ground or air activity at Area 51.
Stay on there. And if I want to monitor that, we're particularly interested in looking for signals that pop up in this frequency range, because this is a federal government range. One is in the 160 megahertz to 170 megahertz range. And then we go a little bit higher, where military aircraft in the 225 to 400 megahertz range.
What they hear is the actual sound of Area 51.
6-5 on Fox 4.
Bob adjusts the frequency.
What's that chatter that we're hearing there on the radio?
That's security.
Okay. Talking about us?
Could be.
Mike and Bob suspect they're being monitored by Area 51 security. They will ride out the night waiting to see if they'll be hassled by the legendary security team. Chuck and Guy can see lights appear. It seems to be operational, even at 3 a.m.
In the years that I've been here, almost 10 years I've been here now, it's expanded quite a bit, probably doubled in size just in the last 10 years.
Tonight, on the mountain peak and on the desert floor, the air has been strangely silent. Then, the steady static is interrupted. Bob struggles to keep the frequency in range.
We have now a number of military aircraft air-to-ground frequencies active, indicating they've got something in the air, as well as ground control frequencies.
That something is moving at an incredible speed, straight toward Guy and Chuck.
We've just got a really bright light in the sky directly overhead the site. Did you see that?
Oh boy.
It's still there. It seems to be moving to the north, but that was amazing. It was so bright, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was directly over the site.
Well, it makes me think it might have been an aircraft with a very directional light on it.
Guy hopes for a second sighting so that Chuck's camera has a chance to catch it. But the sky suddenly goes quiet over Area 51. The runway goes dark. When we return, the next morning brings more flights.
Oh, there's a MiG-29. Excellent.
Mr. X takes us inside the super-secret base.
It's an Air Force separate from the normal Air Force above the regular Air Force.
And Mike Johnson gets too close to the truth.
We got the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department watching me. I definitely got his attention.
It's 5:30 a.m. As the dawn breaks, Chuck and Guy use the telescope to view the base one final time before the heat haze obscures the image.
There's the control tower on the left of that little higher hill in the center.
Yeah.
You see the top 20 feet of it.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it looks like the vehicles are over on the left side of that new taxiway now.
For Mike and Bob on the desert below,
Here it comes.
15,000 feet above their heads, Area 51 comes alive. Guy hears it too.
Sounded like there was something in the air over there, Chuck.
It could be a B-2 bomber. They practice refueling around dawn and then stay in the airspace for a couple hours out here.
Guy can't believe his luck. The B-2 is not alone, and it has some surprising company.
Oh, there's a MiG-29. Excellent.
He's turning that way.
Although America is no longer in a Cold War with the Soviets, for some strange reason, it's still fighting their aircraft here at Area 51. In the valley below, Mike and Bob suspect they have been watched all night by base security. They are ready to meet with Chuck and Guy, but have one last place on the map to check.
Well, if I listened to Chuck correctly, the main gate ought to be about 10 miles or less off there toward that hill.
As they close in on the official entrance, Mike is startled by something in the mirror. Barreling toward them is an enormous vehicle. With its windows painted black to protect or hide its passengers, it speeds toward a day's work at the top secret base.
Holy smokes.
The bus doesn't even slow down.
I think the bus is doing a little more than 45, maybe 145.
He was hustling.
He was.
To prepare for this 24-hour vigil, Mike Johnson spent weeks on the strangest stakeout of his career. His target? An Area 51 employee who will talk for the first time about life on the base.
It's mind-boggling from my perspective as an investigator how well maintained the secrecy of this facility is.
The first step, how many people work there, and how do they get to the remote desert base? Area 51 is located 140 desolate miles north of Las Vegas. For years, it's been whispered that a secret airline shuttles hundreds of Area 51 employees every weekday from their homes near Las Vegas to their classified jobs on the base. The name? Janet Air. Legend has it that JANET stands for just another non-existent terminal. Whatever it's called, there's no doubt now that the airline is real.
Over here is the McCarran International Airport, and the Janet Terminal is on the west edge of the airport property.
This secret site is just a few blocks from the Las Vegas Strip.
The only indication of where you're at all is the signs that say warning, secure facility, or no trespassing. There are no overt indications of what this facility is. It's what we refer to as hiding in plain sight.
During his stakeout, the first thing he notices is something that Janet airplanes don't have.
There is no identifying markings on those aircraft with the exception of the tail number. All aircraft have a tail number with the exception of military aircraft, which would indicate to me that they are privately held aircraft.
Using his investigative skills to run down the tail number, Mike knows these planes are owned by EG&G, a huge government contractor.
One of the Janet flights just loaded up, moved out onto the tarmac, and should be taking off here any second. They typically don't leave them in the holding pattern too terribly long. They get him out onto the active runway and get him out of here pretty lickety split.
Every day, hundreds of men and women pass through these gates on their way to work at Area 51.
We're seeing a car go in now. The guard just stepped out. This driver's going to display some form of identification, and the guard's trying to figure out what I'm doing, and he's watching me, watching him.
Mike is on public property, but he still has reason to worry. The guard hasn't taken his eyes off Mike's car.
I definitely got his attention. He knows I'm here.
Here's a chance to check out the system's security. But it could also lead to compromising the mission or jail.
Here's the white security pickup truck. Got Janet Terminal Security watching me. I've got the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department watching me. And I'll be stunned if a marked or an unmarked unit doesn't come up and try and ID me here any second.
The net gets tighter on the ground and in the air.
Here's a helicopter overhead.
The best way to continue the investigation is to get away fast and come back when things cool down. Coming up next, the 24 hours are almost over.
No trespassing beyond this point.
Photography of this area is prohibited.
Mike Johnson is hot on the trail of an Area 51 vet.
The lives were put at risk just to keep the nature of this place secret.
Time is running out, but Mike and Bob know they're close.
I see orange markers on the hillside there, and that's what Chuck said delineated their boundary. When there's some type of unit sitting up there, and here's the boundary right here.
Yeah, there we are.
This is as far as I want to drive.
This humble stretch of road is one of the most secure spots on the planet.
Some censoring units up there on the hill.
Looks like it, yeah, the big one on top especially.
People who have crossed this line have been arrested, interrogated, stripped of cameras, phones, even their clothes.
No trespassing beyond this point.
Photography of this area is prohibited. Well, I think this is probably about it.
This is as far as I'm willing to go.
Yeah.
Of the hundreds of people who work at Area 51, why have none of them come forward with information? What kind of threat does the government hold over their heads? Mike's investigation has led to uncovering the addresses and backgrounds of people who park their cars in a secure Las Vegas air terminal and fly to the super-secret base. Now it's time for him to take the next step and reach out. An unmarked black SUV pulls out of the gate. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime.
I spent a couple days out here, and I watched the activity. I was able to do some research and find out the owner of the vehicle is an employee at the test site.
Mike is more determined than ever to track down someone who can unlock Area 51's mysteries from the inside. With Mike tailing close behind, the black car moves off the freeway. It's a promising turn of events. The further his target goes from the intimidating glare of base security, the more likely he is to talk.
I don't have a clue what leverage the contractor or the government uses, but man, they must sign their life away. It's phenomenal how well kept the secret is.
Rush hour traffic slows the chase down, and for a moment, Mike loses sight of his target.
The car I'm following is at least a quarter mile ahead of me right now.
Mike manages to pick up the trail again. Now he weaves between vehicles, staying close enough to keep a constant watch on the black SUV. while being careful not to blow his cover.
Our guy is still up in the #1 lane. Let's see how lucky I can get.
The chase moves from the freeway to city streets and begins to draw to a close in this slow-paced suburban neighborhood.
These people are your average middle class, upper middle class folks. They're your next door neighbor, the parents of your children's best friend. They just happen to have a super secret job.
We'll see what happens here and then go knock on the door.
Do the answers to Mike's questions lie behind this door? What secrets will his hard work reveal?
My name's Mike Johnson. I'm an investigator. You're not in any trouble whatsoever, but one of your vehicles has been seen going in and out of the Janet terminal, and we were hoping we could talk to you about Area 51. No comment. And the door closed, and that was that. From the reaction, I'm pretty confident he works there, and that's where we're at. He's not going to talk about it.
The government's strict secrecy policies prove a formidable obstacle. But Mike's patient and more determined than ever to find someone who will talk to him.
I am going to have to do some substantial digging to identify a disgruntled type employee that's willing to talk or even acknowledge their participation with Area 51.
Back in Las Vegas, Mike Johnson's search for an Area 51 insider is picking up steam. A tip from an inside source has brought Mike to this nondescript hotel. If his information is correct, waiting upstairs to speak with him is a former employee of Area 51.
I worked at Area 51 for approximately 14 years, and through the 1980s and the early part of 1990s.
Success. The man is apparently willing to talk, but only if his name is not used, his face hidden, and his voice disguised.
Lives were put at risk, careers were jeopardized or terminated just to keep the nature of this place secret.
Mike spent hours and hours staking out Area 51's commuter airline, Janet Air. Here's someone who flew it 5 days a week.
After you'd arrived at McCarran, you were to go park your vehicle, walk inside the terminal where you would surrender your baggage to ensure that you weren't carrying any tape recorders, cameras, things of that nature.
Mr. X confirms the accuracy of Chuck Clark's satellite 3D model. This is the base he worked on.
That is absolutely correct. Absolutely right.
Mr. X says fear, more than anything, pervades every aspect of life and work on the base.
Security for the personnel was far greater than what you see on the outside. If you made a call home, you had to be very careful as to what you said to your wife or your children, as to divulge where you might be, when you might be coming home, what method of travel you might use.
What sort of work warrants this kind of secrecy and security?
It's a test facility for experimental aircraft. Simple as that. The United States has projects that are deemed classified for one reason or another, and they are tested and proven at that particular location.
But Mr. X says Area 51 is unlike any other Air Force base.
It is an Air Force separate from the normal Air Force, absolutely. And the attitude of the individuals up there is, yes, we are not the regular Air Force. We're somewhat above the regular Air Force.
He says those who run Area 51 regularly risk the lives of their own workers.
Absolute power is true, corrupts absolutely. And these individuals up there are definitely operating, like the apocalypse now, operating without any decent human restraint. They're on their own mission.
Moreover, Mr. X says anyone who challenges that mission is dealt with swiftly.
This individual that I knew expressed grave concerns over personnel being exposed to toxic chemicals, hazardous waste, if you will. He was told that basically the project was behind the curve. They needed to expedite its completion, and that kind of information would be kept from those personnel. And when he challenged that, he was dismissed, removed from the base.
Mr. X is well aware of the risks of talking, but he says that unless the truth comes out, corruption could very well destroy the base's very real military functions.
I think there should be a congressional investigation of the place.
Chuck and Guy, hungry, tired, and facing a tricky climb down a steep slope. They can't be sure that they've eluded base security until they're safely back at their rendezvous point. Sitting on a rise with a perfect view of Mike and Bob is a member of the Area 51 security force known as the Camo Dudes. They're not military, but a private police force assigned to keep everyone away from Area 51.
Here's the deal. We are his excitement. There's a real live person in there really watching us, listening to us right now. He's probably laughing at me talking about him.
Still a lot of activity on the security channels.
Well, I think we've seen just about all we're going to see here, and I'm not willing to go any further.
Yeah, I don't think we should tempt fate.
With security definitely alerted to their presence, they know it's time to leave and meet up with Guy and Chuck.
You guys as tired as we feel?
Good night. How are you? See you.
The team's investigation has proven Area 51 is fully operational.
Radio came alive with getting ready for a mission.
We had an excellent view of the base. It was incredible at that range, you know.
If what Mr. X says is true, then men like Chuck Clark and his teammates may offer the best hope for reforming a military base where absolute secrecy is eroding the line between fact and fiction.
We're the only superpower left, and yet secrecy at Area 51 has grown rather than decreased in the last couple of years. And you have to ask yourself, why?
Why does the military cloak Area 51 in such a thick veil of secrecy? Is it to protect national security? Or does it merely provide cover for more nefarious activities? Either way, the government's not talking. But take a trip out to the desert, walk right up to Area 51's perimeter, and look headlong at the fence that's keeping you out. What Chuck or any of his cohorts will tell you straight up, if you want answers, the truth is in there.